On December 1st, 2025, the Federal Reserve Bank flipped their economic policy by ending QT, quantitative tightening. What that means in plain English is the Fed went from trying to remove extra money from our economy to now printing more money. How do I know? Because on December 2nd, one day after the Fed ended QT, the Fed printed $13.5 billion and injected it into our economy, which is the second largest one-day money injection that we have seen since the pandemic. But this is just the beginning, and the reason why you want to pay attention to this is this new economic policy that the Fed just rolled out is going to impact everybody because it's going to impact the value of your salary and your savings and your investments. So you want to understand how this is going to impact you, but also how you can take advantage of this new shift. So make sure you watch this video until the end because most people are not going to realize it until they start to feel the pain. Now a reminder, because our economy is shifting so much in 2025 going into 2026, I'm hosting a live investor workshop on January 13th, 2026, where I'm going to go over number one, how our economy is shifting, but number two, how these shifts are going to create investment opportunities for you in 2026. I have a ton of research that I'm going to be presenting to show you where money is moving and how the investment opportunities are going to be shifting. So if you're an investor, you are not going to want to miss this workshop. It is live. I'm doing it twice on January 13th, once in the morning at 10:30 a.m. and then again in the evening at 8 p.m. It's a free workshop. It's live and I invite you to join, but I have one request. If you plan on joining, please register soon because we have a limited number of people that can join me live. And when I've done these investor workshops in the past, we have hit capacity pretty much every time. So if you are interested in finding out where you can invest your money better in 2026, I invite you to join me on this investor workshop. The link is there for you to register for free down in the description below. The Federal Reserve Bank is our central bank in the United States. Their job is to monitor and ensure that our economy is growing smoothly. And there are two tools that they have to make that happen. Number one is they can print money and lend it to the United States government. And number two is they can adjust interest rates. In 2020, after the pandemic hit, the Federal Reserve Bank wanted to stimulate the economy because the stock market was falling at the fastest rates that we have seen since the Great Depression. So they did two things. Number one, they cut interest rates all the way down to zero. And then number two, they launched what was called QE, quantitative easing, which was money printing. The Federal Reserve Bank started printing billions and billions, actually trillions of dollars. That way they could lend that money to the United States government, and then the government would then spend that money in our economy. How did the government spend that money? They spent it in the form of stimulus checks. They spent it in the form of PPP loans. They spent it in the form of grants. They spent it in the form of unemployment checks. This stimulus funded by the Fed, remember the quantitative easing, then led to the fastest stock market rally that we have seen in the history of time. So 2020, we saw the fastest stock market sell-off ever, and then we saw the fastest stock market rally ever, both in the same year. What caused that shift? This right here, quantitative easing. Now this quantitative easing might sound good because stocks rally and everybody's making money and everybody has money, but there was a consequence because if you remember back in 2021, after this quantitative easing started, we then started to see the inflation problems because now we were seeing inflation at the highest levels that we have seen in 50 plus years. That was when in 2022, the Federal Reserve Bank put an end to QE, quantitative easing, and they started QT, quantitative tightening. Quantitative tightening, QT, is the opposite of QE. So QE, quantitative easing, is printing money, that way we can stimulate the economy. Quantitative tightening, which started in 2022, that was now where the Federal Reserve Bank is trying to pull money out of the economy, reducing how much money is out there. So we saw this quantitative tightening happen between 2022 through 2025. But that changed on December 1st, 2025, because the Federal Reserve Bank announced that they're ending and have ended quantitative tightening. Why? Because they're concerned about the job market, because they're concerned about the economy, and they want to stimulate again. And you bet that has investors excited because now they're thinking, if more money printing is going to happen, could that help boost markets again? But there is one major difference between our economy now and during the pandemic, and that's AI. More and more companies are committing to replace at least some of their human workers with technology and AI, but I'll talk more about why that matters so much in just a minute. On December 1st, 2025, as soon as the Fed ended quantitative tightening, they did not wait to start printing money. On December 2nd, the Fed printed and injected 13-some billion dollars into our economy, and then 1 week later, they said, oh, that's not enough, so then they committed to printing and creating $40 billion of new money a month which could potentially continue and accelerate in 2026. Now I'm going to talk about why this matters for you and your investments in just a second, but this is why Wall Street and every investor is paying such close attention to this, because this is going to change the way investing works in 2026, and that's why I'm hosting my live investor workshop on January 13th, because things are going to be changing and they're changing fast, and you want to be ahead of the shift. That way you can find better investment opportunities. Again, I have my link for you down in the description, but this is where you want to understand, number one, why this is going to impact you and your investments, which I'll go over in just a second, but number two, why this is different than 2020 and 2021. Because in 2020 and 2021, ChatGPT didn't exist. AI was not what we have today. And the reason why that matters is the Federal Reserve Bank is hoping that if we create this more money, we're going to stimulate more business. We're going to stimulate more job creation. But what we're seeing happen today is companies are able to be a little bit more efficient. And by efficient, I mean less cost. And by less cost, I mean less human cost. Because many companies are now trying to reduce their human workforce and replace more humans with AI agents. So there's a chance that we could inject more money into the economy, which is going to benefit investment values, which could then also be rapidly accelerating the growth of AI, which could hurt more jobs. So we could be seeing a time where companies are growing their profits, but job growth is not keeping up with the growth in profits. That's the concern because of how fast AI is growing and how many companies and people are not able to keep up with how fast technology is growing, because, well, the growth of AI is happening way faster than the internet, and it's happening way faster than social media, and it's happening way faster than the blockchain, and many people just don't have the ability to keep up with that. So our economy is shifting, but a lot of people are not. Now, all this being said, this new economic policy by the Fed, how does this impact you? Because it's going to impact your savings, it's going to impact your salary, and it's going to impact your investments. If I start with your savings and your salary, let's go back to what we talked about here. When we have money printing happen, when you have the Federal Reserve Bank creating more dollars, that means more dollars are entering our economic system. But our dollars aren't backed by anything tangible. Our money, what we call money, isn't backed by physical gold. It's backed by a promise by the United States government that these dollars have value. That means that we can essentially print an unlimited amount of money. It wasn't always like that, but that's what happened after 1971, because in 1971, then President Richard Nixon temporarily took the United States dollar off of the gold standard, because before 1971, our money was backed by gold. If we wanted to print more money, the Fed needed more gold to justify more money printing. But then the problem was we had a lot of debts here in the United States. The government had to pay a lot of bills and didn't have the money to do so, and the Fed couldn't print the money to fund these bills. The government was on the verge of going bankrupt. So instead of declaring bankruptcy, the government instead said, we're no longer going to be backed by gold, which then meant that the Fed could print an unlimited amount of money, lend it to the government, and then the government paid off all their bills. All the problems were solved, right? Except now when he printed this money, we had the inflation problem of the 70s. That was the highest inflation that we've seen since the pandemic. So money printing helped the government pay their bills, but then it created the inflation problem. And we saw it again happen in 2020. And this is where now, if the Federal Reserve Bank is going to continue creating more money, that means that the value of each individual dollar goes down, because we can create more dollars, but that doesn't increase the amount of wealth out there, because we're just creating more currency. So more dollars get created, the value of dollars go down, causing the prices of things to go up. So if you have $1,000 in the bank or $1 million in the bank, and that dollar is not increasing to keep up with inflation, the dollar is effectively losing value. So if you have $1 million in the bank, it's growing by 1% a year, but inflation is 3%. Well, that means over the course of 12 months, you've effectively lost $20,000 worth of buying power because your savings did not grow fast enough to keep up with inflation. And we don't know what inflation is going to look like in 2026, but right now it's hovering at around 3%. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Next has to do with your salary. It's the same reason for your savings. If you're making $50,000 a year and then you get a raise for 2% next year, but the 2% raise isn't enough to keep up with inflation. So even though you're making more money next year, you're actually effectively poorer after that raise, because the prices of things have gone up by more than what your salary has increased. That's why you want to pay attention to this, because, well, a lot of people just kind of cruise by wondering, why is it that I try so hard to save, I try so hard to get a raise, I try so hard to do what is right, but I never feel like I can get ahead. I feel like I'm struggling more and more each and every year. It's because when you have this more money printing happen, you're racing against it. So even if you get a 3% raise and inflation is 3%, you haven't actually become wealthier. If your savings are not growing by 3%, your savings are effectively making you poorer. That's why you have to pay attention to this, because unfortunately, we're never taught this. Now, what does this also mean? Where's the opportunity? This is why it pays to be an investor, because hate it or love it, this economic system is designed to benefit the investor. And what I mean by that is when more dollars are created, the investors are the ones that get rich. I'll show you why. There are three entities in our economic system. We have consumers, we have investors, and we have business owners. Every single person is a consumer. You, me, and everybody else, rich people, middle class people, poor people, because everybody needs to eat, everybody has clothes. So consumers go to Apple, you go to Kroger, you go to Amazon, you go to Apple and you buy something. You go to a business and you buy something. But who is the one that's going to benefit? Is it the workers or is it the owners? The workers get a salary, but all the profit goes to the investors. It goes to the owners. So now consumers go to the business, they spend money, but the real winner here is the investor, because all those extra dollars go to the investor. Then inflation happens, more money gets created, the prices of things go up because now the iPhone gets more expensive, Amazon shopping is more expensive, Walmart is more expensive. That means now you got to spend more money at this business. Now when you spend more money at the business, the worker might get a little bit of a raise, but the extra dollars go into the hands of the, you guessed it, the investor. This is why it is so important for you to be an investor, because this system, more money printing, benefits the investor. That's why Wall Street gets excited anytime they hear QE is coming. Anytime they hear that interest rates are going to be cut, because that means more dollars are going to enter our economy. When more dollars enter our economy, it is the owners and the investors that benefit. Now, there's two ways that you can go out and invest. And I don't recommend you trade. I don't recommend you just dump your money into speculative and high-risk things. You can be a passive investor. Just invest your money into the market. I mean, you can start with as little as $100, and you can invest in something like the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is a group of the 500 largest companies in the stock market that now you're just passively investing your money. Now, I got to give you a disclaimer. I'm just a random guy on YouTube, okay? I'm not a financial advisor. I can't tell you what to do. Investing has risks. In fact, you will lose money at some point. So make sure you always do your own due diligence and never blindly trust a random guy on YouTube. So if you want to just invest in the broad market, you can invest in something like SPY, which gives you exposure to the S&P 500, the 500 largest companies in the stock market. And the way you win when you invest in these broad funds is through what I call ABB. Always be buying. Set up a system every week, every 2 weeks, or every month. Money leaves your checkings account and is automatically invested into this fund. Do that when markets are up and when markets are down. You do it when there's a Republican in the White House and when there's a Democrat in the White House. Do it when it's raining, do it when it's sunny. And now you have a strategy that's been proven to win. But for a lot of people, this is actually not going to be enough anymore, because a 10% return is not going to get a lot of people to where they need to be, assuming that you don't already have some wealth to start with. So if you need better returns, this is where active investing comes into play. And we are entering a time where people need better returns because inflation is expensive and people just need more wealth to be able to retire or be financially free. Now, when I say active investing, I'm not talking about trying to find the next Amazon, trying to find the next Bitcoin, or trying to be the next Warren Buffett. What I'm talking about is trying to get a little bit of an edge on the markets. Because, well, let me show you some math. If you invest $1,000 a month into the broad market, you get 10% a year. You do this for 30 years, you're gonna have about $1.9 million. But now if you could do a little bit better, not anything crazy, we're talking about just 13% a year, which is very possible when you were investing based off of research. Again, this is one of the things I'm going to be talking about and teaching on my investor workshop. But if you can get just a little bit better, now you're not going to have $1.9 million or $2 million or $2.5 million or $3 million. You're going to end up with around $3.5 million. Actually, a little bit more than $3.5 million, which means you get an extra $1.6 million, almost double the amount of money just because you got a little bit better returns. So slightly better returns can lead to significantly more wealth when you understand the way that money is moving. But there's also other things that you can pay attention to as well. For example, gold. Gold has been a hedge against inflation, and people generally buy gold not because they think that, oh my God, gold is going to be so valuable because everybody needs gold, because you don't use gold to eat. You don't use gold to build houses. Gold just kind of sits there and looks back at you. People buy gold because they're worried about the dollar losing value. Now, we've seen a huge run up in gold, but people are looking at gold as an opportunity that if we see more money printing, maybe that means that gold will continue to go up in the future. Is it guaranteed? No, but that's how investors are thinking. It's the same reasoning why people will buy Bitcoin. They say the value of the dollar is going to go down over the next number of years. There's a limited number of Bitcoin. If I can buy some Bitcoin and the value of the dollar goes down, more people want to protect their money by owning something like Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's a lot more speculative. It hasn't proven the test of time. Gold has been around since way before we have walked this earth, but Bitcoin is very new and it relies on people actually buying that Bitcoin and keeping that Bitcoin. So more speculative, but gold has been there for a while, just understanding the differences. In any case, I don't look at Bitcoin or gold as an investment. I look at gold as a hedge, as a type of insurance, and I look at Bitcoin as a speculative play. That's just the way that I look at it. Now, all that being said, this doesn't guarantee that markets are going to go up in 2026. I mean, there's a chance that we could see a recession, and if we see a recession, we could see markets go down. But this is where investors are wondering, what is the Federal Reserve Bank going to do? Because at the end of the day, the stock market and every asset is moved by supply and demand. When you have more buyers and sellers, the price of an asset goes up. When you have more sellers and buyers, the price of that asset goes down. If you create more money, you create more buyers. And this is where it doesn't look like the Federal Reserve Bank wants to see the economy slow down. It doesn't look like the government wants to see the economy slow down, although recessions are a necessary part of our economy. And that's where you want to understand that there are ways to win, whether markets are going up or down. That way you could be on the winning side of this transaction. At the end of the day, we know that our economic system is designed to benefit investors, which is why it is so important for you to be an investor. Now, I hope you got value out of this video. If you did, the best thank you is a referral. So if you could, please share this video with a friend, family member, colleague, or fellow investor. That way we continue to spread this type of financial education. Thank you. The housing market is facing a trifecta of problems. We have number 1, high housing prices, with number 2, high mortgage rates, with number 3, not that many houses for sale. In response, the Federal Reserve Bank just cut interest rates for the 3rd time in 2025, and many people are hoping this is going to make housing a little bit more affordable. Well, the Fed just responded saying, don't.